Hidden deep in the English countryside lies a mansion with 35 rooms, its grand stone facade watching over rolling hills and whispering woods. Here, horses roam freely, and the walls echo with music that once filled stadiums. But how did Roger Daltrey, once a rebellious boy from wartime London, become the master of this $22 million retreat? Today, we open the gates to Holmeshurst Manor, step inside to discover the house, fortune, and quieter rhythm of a rock legend who chose nature, art, and family over chaos. London, 1944. Air raid sirens howled through the night as bombs fell across the city. In the chaos of war, a baby boy was born at Hammersmith Hospital, Roger Harry Daltrey. Just 3 months later, with his father deployed to fight in World War II, Roger and his mother were evacuated to a quiet Scottish farm. Safety was far from guaranteed, but the countryside offered silence and space to dream. He would need that silence. Because from an early age, Roger Daltrey was not like the others. He grew up in Acton, West London, a working-class neighborhood where fists often spoke louder than words. He was sharp in school, even excelling in his 11+ exams, but there was something else brewing, something louder. At 13, he didn't wait for life to hand him music. He built it. Using scrap wood and fishing wire, he handcrafted his first guitar, a cherry-red replica of a Fender Stratocaster. And when a local skiffle band called the Detours needed a guitarist, Roger showed up, with a homemade guitar and a fierce determination that said, "This is mine now." Soon, he wasn't just playing, he was leading. He ran the band with an iron will, so much so that Pete Townshend would later recall, "You disagreed with Roger, you got 5 across the face." But it worked. The chaos of his upbringing became structure, the fists became focus, and the Detours became the who. Then came the explosion. My generation hit like a thunderclap, angry, defiant, unforgettable. And at the heart of it all was Roger Daltrey, shirtless, golden-haired, swinging his microphone like a lasso of sound and rage. His voice cracked like thunder. His stage presence was electric. He wasn't just singing, he was roaring. But behind the spotlight, the band was volatile. Roger once punched drummer Keith Moon after catching him sharing drugs with bandmates, an act that got him briefly fired. But within a week, they brought him back, because without Daltrey, there was no who. And when he returned, the band soared. From the groundbreaking rock opera Tommy, to the thunderous Quadrophenia, to Who Are You, the Who became the voice of a generation. Daltrey wasn't just fronting the band, he was embodying it. His voice carried every scream of youth, every rebellion, every late-night cry for freedom. Still, the edge never dulled. In 1973, during a heated dispute about the band's schedule, Townshend struck Daltrey with a guitar. Daltrey responded instantly, with a punch that knocked Townshend out cold. Their relationship was fire and gasoline. But that's what made it real. That's what made it work. In 1975, when Tommy was turned into a feature film, Roger stepped into the title role, a deaf, dumb, and blind boy who becomes a messiah of pinball. The performance earned him a Golden Globe nomination and proved something few had expected. Daltrey was more than a rock star. He was an actor, a force, a storyteller. Then, tragedy. Keith Moon died in 1978 of an overdose. The band was gutted. Roger felt their spirit dim. Touring slowed. The noise softened. But even in grief, Daltrey didn't stop. He kept moving, kept creating. He released solo albums like Daltrey and Ride a Rock Horse, and even starred in films like McVicker, where he played a notorious criminal and sang the entire soundtrack. And yet, perhaps his greatest test came not on stage, but behind it. In 1996, on the eve of a major charity performance of Quadrophenia, A microphone stand smashed into his face, breaking his eye socket. Doctors warned he might not perform, but he did, wearing an eye patch, defiant as ever. Because for Roger Daltrey, the show must always go on. From a bomb shelter baby to a stadium-filling icon, Daltrey's life was built on grit, survival, and sheer volume. But after decades on the road, after all the noise, where does a rock god go to rest? Let's head now to Holmeshurst Manor, the grand Sussex estate where Roger Daltrey finally found quiet. But not silence. Sussex retreat. It's not a mansion. It's not a house. It's a world, carved into the green heart of East Sussex. Tucked near the sleepy village of Burwash, about an hour and a half from London, rises Holmeshurst Manor, a Jacobean-style estate with 35 rooms, stone chimneys, and a past as layered as its gardens. It's where Roger Daltrey chose to put down roots in 1971, just as Who's Next was erupting through the charts. While the world saw him as a mic-slinging wild man, Roger quietly signed the deed to something far more grounded. Why here? Because even rock legends need a place to exhale. The moment you pass through the wrought iron gates, time seems to slow. Gravel crunches beneath the tires. Ivy creeps along the brick facade. Towering trees cast shifting shadows across stone paths. There's a stillness here, a silence thick with memory. Step into the grand foyer, and the first thing you'll notice is the light. Wide, arched windows pour golden rays across warm wooden floors. Vaulted ceilings stretch overhead, crisscrossed with exposed beams, giving the home a cathedral-like reverence. It feels like stepping into a dream, an old English storybook, retold by a rock star. Each room whispers history, but never shouts. The living areas are expansive yet intimate, dressed in natural tones, deep leathers, and polished oak. A stone fireplace anchors the main salon, above which hangs a black and white photo of The Who in their early days. Roger barefoot, eyes fierce, forever young. Nearby, shelves hold signed vinyl, handwritten lyrics, and a few gold-plated surprises. The kitchen is a chef's dream. Gleaming countertops, state-of-the-art appliances, and copper pans dangling above a central island. But this isn't some sterile show kitchen. It's warm, used, loved. You can almost hear the clatter of Sunday breakfast, the sizzle of bacon, the laughter of grandchildren racing through. Adjoining it, the dining room plays host to long candlelit evenings and summer wine tastings, often featuring bottles from the vineyard right outside the window. Let's head upstairs. There are 7 bedrooms, each uniquely styled. But the master suite? That's where the soul of the house lives. A canopy bed draped in cream linen, French doors opening onto a private balcony. And just beyond that, a view that stretches across fields, woods, and horse paddocks where Roger's beloved horses roam. It's a window into another life, slower, simpler, more sacred. The bathrooms, 7 full, 3 half, blend rustic charm with modern luxury. Clawfoot tubs, stone tiling, brass fixtures, and sunlight pouring through stained glass. But it doesn't end there. Holmeshurst is not just a place to rest, it's a place to play. In the lower levels, you'll find a private cinema, soundproofed and lined with plush velvet seats where Daltrey hosts film nights with friends. Next door, a fitness center, recreation lounge, and even an indoor squash court, because age is just a number when your spirit stays wild. And tucked into the side wing of the house, a personal spa, complete with sauna, massage room, and plunge pool. It's here where Roger recovers after long tours, or simply disappears with a glass of red wine and a Leonard Cohen album humming softly in the background. Outside, the estate stretches like a never-ending melody. A crystalline swimming pool sits beneath a pergola draped in wisteria. There's a full-sized tennis court, a manicured vineyard, solar panels discreetly embedded behind hedgerows, and converted stables that now house a blend of horses and history. There's even a stone terrace where Roger has hosted everything from summer barbecues to quiet evenings under the stars. Imagine the voice that once shook arenas humming softly into the twilight, surrounded by family, dogs, and the rustle of leaves. This isn't rock star excess, it's rock star serenity. Today, Holmeshurst Manor is valued at $22 million. But ask Roger, and he'll likely tell you it's priceless. Because this isn't just where he sleeps. It's where he healed, where he wrote, where his children grew up, his grandchildren now play, and his horses still gallop with a freedom that no arena spotlight could ever offer. So what does a man like Roger Daltrey, with a home like this, do next? To understand the fortune that made Holmeshurst possible, not just in money, but in meaning, let's talk about how this quiet countryside dream was paid for, in full. You don't build a $22 million countryside retreat with just charisma and stage presence. You build it with decades of hits, heartbreaks, and hard-won lessons. Roger Daltrey's net worth is estimated at $90 million, a quiet fortune that, like Holmeshurst Manor itself, wasn't built overnight. It's the sum of a lifetime of roaring stadiums, million-selling records, and a voice that became the soundtrack of rebellion. But how exactly did he get there? Let's rewind. It began, of course, with The Who. Their debut album, My Generation, didn't just sell, it defined. From that point on, every new record, Tommy, Who's Next, Quadrophenia, added to the band's global dominance. Royalties flowed in from albums, singles, and constant radio play, especially in the UK, US, and Japan. But music was only the first act. The second came with touring. Even after the chaos and loss that haunted the band, like the death of Keith Moon, The Who remained a major box office draw. Their 25th anniversary tour in 1989, the epic Quadrophenia tours in the late 90s, and major stints in the 2000s, including Super Bowl 44's halftime show in 2010, each grossed millions. Each ticket, each show, each encore. They didn't just perform, they cashed checks written in decibels. Then there were solo ventures. Daltrey's solo albums, Daltrey, 1973, Ride a Rock Horse, 1975, and As Long as I Have You, 2018, all found success, especially in the UK. His film roles, from Tommy to McVicker, didn't just stretch his artistic muscles, they paid. Behind the camera, he served as producer on multiple projects, including soundtracks and documentaries. Add in book royalties from his 2018 memoir, Thanks a Lot, Mr. Kibblewhite, and you see an artist who knew how to diversify long before it became trendy. And then, there's the silent power of catalog rights. Every time a Who song plays in a commercial, a film, a video game, Daltrey's earnings quietly grow. From Baba O'Reilly blasting over sports montages to Won't Get Fooled Again anchoring political dramas, the band's presence in pop culture has never faded. And neither have the checks. But perhaps his most grounded investment is the one you've already seen. Holmeshurst Manor isn't just home, it's a living asset. With its working vineyard, solar panels, and event-ready grounds, it's a long-term property play wrapped in the beauty of country life. It's real estate with a pulse, and Daltrey, ever the showman, knows how to stage it perfectly. Today, at 81, Daltrey doesn't flaunt his wealth. He doesn't buy castles or yachts. He buys peace. And that, in the world of rock and roll, may be the most rebellious investment of all. But wealth, true wealth, means nothing if it isn't shared. So let's step away from the numbers and into the heart of this man's legacy. Because Roger Daltrey hasn't just made millions, he's helped change millions of lives. Philanthropy. You might expect a rock legend to give back with noise, telethons, TV spots, gala speeches, but Roger Daltrey does it differently. He gives like he performs, all in, heart first, and never for the applause. It began with a conversation. A moment in the late 90s when Daltrey visited a cancer ward in a UK hospital and noticed something chilling. Not the illness itself, but the loneliness. Young patients, ages 13 to 24, stuck in children's wings or lost among geriatric care. No music, no color, no place to just be young. And so, in 2000, Roger Daltrey stepped off the stage and into action. He founded the Teenage Cancer Trust Concert Series, an annual event at London's Royal Albert Hall. The idea was simple but powerful. Use music to fund youth cancer units built not like hospital rooms, but like sanctuaries. The first show raised thousands. The next few years, millions. By the 2010s, the charity had raised over $23 million, building specialized units across the UK with TVs, guitars, gaming consoles, everything a teenager needed to feel like themselves, not just a diagnosis. But Daltrey didn't stop there. He crossed the Atlantic and co-founded Teen Cancer America with fellow Who bandmate Pete Townsend. Their mission: replicate the UK model in US hospitals. It worked. UCLA's Ronald Reagan Medical Center was the first to open a Daltrey/Townsend adolescent and young adult cancer program in 2011. The launch was more than symbolic. Alongside Roger stood Robert Plant, Dave Grohl, and even Julie Andrews. Titans of music and film gathered not to perform but to follow his lead. The list of his charitable performances reads like a hidden discography. Childline Rock's benefit concert in 2008. Imagine a Cure 2 in honor of John Lennon, raising funds for breast cancer. A joint appearance with Michael J. Fox at a Parkinson's benefit. Longtime support for Tomorrow's People Trust, helping unemployed youth in Sussex, patron of charities for disabled children, voice therapy research, and more. In 2011, Daltrey even helped fund cutting-edge research at MIT, exploring how to repair damaged vocal cords, a cause close to his voice, literally. But the beauty of Roger's giving isn't in the size of the check. It's in the consistency, the quiet, the care. He doesn't just raise money. He raises awareness, raises voices, raises hope. At every charity concert, you'll still find him backstage talking to families, shaking hands with doctors, sitting with teens who just want to talk about guitars instead of chemo. For Daltrey, the spotlight now shines differently. It's not about being seen, it's about seeing others. And maybe that's the final evolution of the rebel frontman. From throwing punches backstage to building hospitals, from smashing microphones to funding new voices, from shouting, "Hope I die before I get old," to quietly helping the young survive. Because for Roger Daltrey, the true legacy isn't in gold records or sold-out arenas. It's in the rooms where music still plays, even when the fight is silent. So who is Roger Daltrey really? Not just a rock icon, not just a philanthropist, but a man who found power in empathy and used it to rebuild what the world too often ignores. Now, let's leave the stage and return to something even more personal. The man behind the legend, at home with his family, horses, and the gentle rhythm of life at Holmeshurst Manor. Personal life. There's a moment every morning at Holmeshurst Manor that you'll never see on a concert stage. The sun rises over East Sussex, the fields glow gold, and somewhere along the misty paddocks, Roger Daltrey walks among his horses. No entourage, no camera, just boots in the dew and peace in his heart. Because behind the voice that once roared through stadiums, lives a man who now whispers with the land. He's been married to Heather Taylor since 1971. A love that's outlasted band feuds, global tours, and the constant reinvention of fame. They met in London. She was a model, independent, and radiant. Some say she was the muse behind Jimi Hendrix's Foxy Lady. But for Roger, she became more than a muse. She became home. Together they've raised 3 children, Rosie, Willow, and Jamie. But family for Daltrey is more than bloodlines. On his 50th birthday, a letter arrived. A woman he'd never met claimed to be his daughter, born from a brief relationship decades earlier. Roger could have denied it, ignored it, buried it in silence. He didn't. Instead, he welcomed her. And then 2 more daughters from similar past chapters emerged. All were adopted at birth. All had grown up without knowing him. But now, they are his. Roger once said, "When my 3 daughters came to my door unexpectedly, I accepted them, and I love them deeply." It wasn't just forgiveness. It was transformation. Today, Roger Daltrey is a father to 8 and a grandfather to 15. That's 15 little voices who probably don't care about my generation or quadrophenia, but know him as the man who bakes breakfast, tells stories, and lets them ride ponies through Holmeshurst's meadows. This is where his life now plays out, not in arenas, but in garden paths, firelit kitchens, and horse stables that echo with quiet laughter. He's never been a man for luxury in the traditional sense. You won't find Daltrey draped in designer labels or collecting exotic supercars. What you'll find is something far rarer, a man fully at peace with the choices he's made. But don't mistake peace for retreat. Even now in his 80s, Roger still tours occasionally, still writes, still shows up. But it's on his terms. The rebel became a steward, not just of music, but of land, family, and legacy. And that, perhaps, is the most rock and roll thing of all. In the end, Roger Daltrey didn't choose silence. He chose harmony, between past and present, between stage and stable, between roaring crowds and quiet Sunday mornings. This is the life he built. This is the life he earned. If Roger Daltrey's journey from London's war-torn streets to a serene Sussex retreat moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Behind every legend is a life, and we're just getting started uncovering them. Join us for more stories of music, meaning, and the places they call home.